What's up everybody, Unrested here, and today I'm going to fit in one more working in Japan. And it's kind of one I skipped. I'm backpedaling now. I should have put it in between all these other ones that I have. Working in Japan Part 5, this is the interview. I'm doing this because each interview that you would have for each different type of English teaching job is very different. And there's a few key things you need to have in place in order to be the person or the candidate that they want to hire. So let's just go through each one. I'm going to go through in order. ALT, that's Assistant Language Teacher, International Kindergarten Teacher, and Eikaiwa. There is some more gray areas in between those three jobs, but for the most part I'm covering every single type of teaching you would do here in Japan. If you have more questions about those after, feel free to put them in the comments. For now, I'm just going to cover those three. Okay, so let's start ALT first. First of all, be ready for a little bit of Japanese when you come in for that little interview. Usually the ALT interview does expect you to know a little bit of Japanese because most ALT jobs, the English teachers can't speak English. Oh, surprise, surprise. Yes, that's right. Even if they've gone to college for teaching English, most times they can't speak English. Amazing, I know. So they're going to probably start you off with a little bit of a Japanese test. Be ready to answer very simple Japanese questions. These are the most basic of basic questions like Ohashi skaimasu ka? Can you use chopsticks? Nihongo shabereru? Do you speak Japanese? Or Nihongo wakarimasu ka? Do you understand Japanese? Doko kara kimashita? Where are you from? Anata no ichiban suki basho wa doko? Like, what's your favorite place in Japan? Anata no ichiban suki Nihon no tabemono wa nani? What's your favorite Japanese food? What else? Gekoko ryori wa nani ga ichiban suki? What's your favorite foreign food? What else would it be? Doishite Nihon kita? Why did you come to Japan? Can I think of anything else offhand? Those are the few basics. I don't think I've missed out on anything. They might have one more unique question. Just know your basic Japanese if you're going to go for that kind of test. You should have studied a little bit of Japanese before you come here. I hope you do. I came here with little to none. I probably would have failed that test, honestly, had I taken that right when I came here. After that, the next thing they're going to test you on is a demo lesson. A demo lesson for an ALT class will be anywhere for first level students, first year students I should say, on up to 6-year students in elementary or up through junior high school or possibly high school. For elementary level school students, you're going to have to follow a book that was before called Eigo Noto. I think it's called Let's Be Friends or Let's Hang Out or something like that now. It's got a weird name now. But more or less it is a set of cards connected to a on-screen or projector type notebook that you press buttons on. It's an interactive screen usually. Some schools don't have the budget for that, so you literally just get a bunch of cards you have to pin to the board. You don't necessarily have to make a lesson from that book because you most likely don't have that book, but what I would say that you do is put together a lesson similar to that. Use cards, use some sort of level correct English lesson. For example, if they're going to expect you to be teaching elementary school level, have an elementary school lesson ready. I would say also check out websites like Dave's ESL Cafe for possible suggestions of a lesson, or go ahead and go on YouTube or Google and Google some lesson samples. Mexican Samurai 100 is a great example of a guy here in Japan who teaches awesome elementary level ALT lessons. If you could copy his to a T, you will most likely get the job. I would also say check out different lessons for junior high school because that becomes different. They start to use a book called The Crown. It is a UK English-based book, so it'll be original English. That means you're going to have U's in your favorite and color. I would say check out a lesson for that too. Do the exact same thing. Google it, YouTube it, find a lesson example. Again, it's mostly going to be cards. Those cards tend to actually have words on it this time. The elementary school levels are mostly picture cards. You're not going to get into super heavy stuff like diagramming sentences or anything like that. It's mostly going to be dialogue-based chats. Get into most simple dialogues and you'll be okay. High school level starts to get really different and usually it's very esoteric to the high school you'll teach at. I would say you could Google a couple of those lessons or check out on YouTube, but for the most part, each high school kind of has their own way of teaching. Some is very, very basic, but none of them have a set book that I know of. Moving on to kindergarten, international kindergarten next, the interview for that, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is be genki, 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 genki. You don't need to know really any Japanese because for the most part, you're usually not supposed to speak any Japanese at all at an international kindergarten job. It probably is helpful to know a little bit of kid level Japanese just so you can tell kids different things to do, like, you know, kuchi haite dame, don't put that in your mouth, or naganaide, don't throw that, kenka suru dame, and kenka shite dame, okay, don't fight, you know, different things like that. I would say learning those basic phrases is a good idea before you start a job like that. It'll also help out your Japanese equivalent teacher or your Japanese assistant teacher, which you usually have. But the good thing about that is almost always they will speak English. They almost always require your assistant to be able to speak English so that proper communication can happen between you and your assistant. And do realize though, sometimes the Japanese person working isn't your assistant, they are the Japanese teacher, so they are the equivalent to what you are, just the Japanese version, and you need to treat them with that level of respect. Don't treat them as an assistant unless they say this is your assistant. That being said, genki, 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 as I said, smiles all the time. Come into that interview smiling. If there's one thing I've seen people fail in interview doing, it's not smiling enough. They may be the hardest worker, they may be the toughest worker, they may know the most stuff about their job, but if they do not smile, they will not get the job. That goes for ALT too. Smile, smile, smile. I cannot express that enough. Come into that job, and if you have to have a demo lesson ready, you need to have one that goes from one lesson to the next lesson to the next lesson to the next lesson. It's not like elementary school or junior high school ALT work where you have one big themed lesson. With a kindergarten level lesson, you would usually have to go from something like cards to a song to a dance to maybe I do juggling next, then maybe do a game with the kids, then a magic trick, a book to read. What I'm saying is you're switching it up a lot. For me, that's how my lesson goes. I go song, dance, song, cards, song, ABCs with a song. Then I do juggling, which I have these balls that I've drawn all these different pictures on. Whatever ball I stop on, they have to say it, so it mixes it up. It's not a card. I go to a game next. I usually do a magic trick after that. I end with a story. My lesson's usually about 45 minutes. Each section of that is anywhere from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. If you go longer than 5 minutes, kids get bored fast. If you spend a second or a minute trying to find what you're going to do next, kids get bored fast. They want to see you speed through that lesson. All right, that about covers it for international kindergarten. Last but not least, Eikaiwa. Eikaiwa is going to look for you to be able to follow a lesson that is in a book. Usually almost every Eikaiwa place has their own book that you're going to follow. That set of lessons is something that you need to have down pat. You need to show that you have the communication skills to speak slowly enough that a Japanese English as a second language learner would be able to follow. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I first applied. I was speaking too fast. Right now, the speed in which I'm talking to you is way too mega fast. You need to slow it down. You need to be able to learn how to communicate in ways that are simple, with the simplest verbs, simplest nouns, the simplest language, the simplest sentences. Yes, sometimes you may sound a little stupid and it may sound like English that you would not use. Like, for example, no one actually says, "Hello, how are you? My name is Scott." Like, no one speaks like that. If they did, they would think maybe you're a little slow. But that's what you need to learn how to do. You need to learn how to become super clear. Don't put like, don't put slang, don't put metaphors, no similes in your speech. Keep it simple. Anyway, that's about covers it today for interviews in Japan for all 3 types of schools. If you have any questions, which I'm sure you do, please comment below. I am Unrested. This is JFAC.